I stood in front of the mirror, straightening the collar of my crisp white shirt for what felt like the 100th time. The room smelled faintly of cologne, fresh-cut roses, and anticipation. My best man, Theo, sat on the armrest of the sofa, tying and reading his bow tie while humming the chorus of a pop song I didn't recognize. "Almost time," he said, glancing at his watch. "Nervous?" "Not at all," I lied, offering a tight smile. My hands were trembling slightly. We had rehearsed this day down to the tiniest detail. Naomi had chosen the venue, a garden by a lake with willows arching like cathedral ceilings. Her Pinterest boards had been a daily obsession for months. Every napkin fold, every floral arrangement, every musical cue bore her signature. I just nodded along, thinking, whatever makes her happy. And it did make her happy. Or at least it used to. I reached for my phone to check the time again. That's when I saw it. One new message. From Naomi. My thumb hovered over the screen before tapping it open. I expected something sweet. See you at the altar face blowing a kiss. Or, I love you. Instead, I read, I can't do this. I'm sorry. I reject you. At first, I thought it was a joke. A bad one. A misplaced text meant for someone else. Or a prank she'd regret in 3 seconds. I stared, rereading it, the words burning into my vision. I can't do this. I'm sorry. I reject you. Reject. Who even uses that word? Chaos comes in waves. Theo must have noticed my expression because he was on his feet in an instant. What's wrong? I handed him the phone with shaking fingers. His eyes moved left to right, then widened. No way. This has to be... Dude, this has to be a mistake. But it wasn't. I tried calling. No answer. Tried again. Straight to voicemail. Panic cracked open inside me, flooding my chest. My legs suddenly felt like they belonged to someone else. I sat down hard on the edge of the bed. Okay, Theo said, pacing. Maybe she's just overwhelmed. You know how anxious she's been. It's the pressure. Cold feet. This doesn't mean she won't show up. But 5 minutes passed. 10. 15. The planner came knocking. Guests are seated. We're ready to begin in 5. I couldn't speak. I just handed her the phone. 2. The vanishing bride. While Theo ran off to find Naomi, or at least someone from her side of the party, I changed out of the tuxedo, every movement mechanical, like I was assembling someone else's body. Outside, the music started. The violins, the murmuring of guests, the rising buzz of a wedding that didn't know it was about to implode. 15 minutes later, Theo returned alone. She's gone. What do you mean gone? I mean she left. Left the bridal suite. Her phone's off. Her parents don't know where she is. One of the bridesmaids said she saw Naomi get into an Uber with a suitcase. A suitcase. So it wasn't cold feet. It was planned. She knew she wouldn't be marrying me today. She knew when she sent that message. She might have known yesterday. Maybe even last week. I stood there, surrounded by flower petals and cake that would never be cut, and I realized I'd been ghosted at the altar. Grief with an audience. Words spread quickly. Gasps, whispers. I watched my parents' faces morph from confusion to pity to anger. Her mother sat down hard in the front row, her hand pressed over her mouth. Her father stormed off. We had to tell everyone. Some stayed to console me. Some looked at me like I had done something wrong. She was so in love with you. Were there signs? Did something happen last night? No. The reception, of course, was canceled, but the food was already paid for. The drinks, too. A few family members stayed anyway, drinking awkwardly in a room that had been decorated for love, but now reeked of embarrassment. I didn't cry. Not then. I just stood in a corner of what should have been our future, surrounded by centerpieces and unanswered questions. Aftermath. The days that followed were a blur. I moved back into my apartment alone, where her half of the closet still held dresses and shoes. Her toothbrush. Her perfume. It was like she died, but worse, because she'd chosen to vanish. No explanation ever came. No letter. No call. Just that one text. It became the most painful sentence I had ever read. I can't do this. I reject you. Friends took sides. Some reached out to Naomi. Most got silence. Others told me I was lucky, better now than later. But that didn't help. Not when I had planned a life with her. Not when I remembered the time we slow danced in the kitchen at midnight. Or the way she'd say, "I've never felt this safe with anyone before." Safe. Answers come slowly. A month passed before I heard from her. She emailed me. Just 2 lines. "I'm sorry I couldn't be the person you thought I was." I panicked. I left because I knew if I saw you, I'd go through with it. And I'd regret it forever. No offer to meet. No explanation beyond that. I responded once. "You didn't just hurt me. You humiliated me. And I didn't deserve that." She never replied again. I learned from mutual friends she had moved to Seattle, took a job in graphic design, changed her number, left her past like a burnt photograph. Healing looks different for everyone. It took me almost a year to feel like myself again. I traveled. I saw a therapist. I deleted the wedding folder from my laptop and threw away the invitation samples. Slowly, the ghost of her stopped haunting every room. I went on dates. Some were forgettable. One was promising. But trust, that's a harder thing to rebuild. It's not just about falling in love again. It's about believing you won't be abandoned when it matters most. That someone won't vanish right before they promise forever. Sometimes I still wonder what she felt in that moment. Minutes before our wedding, thumbs typing out a sentence that would detonate both our lives. Was she crying, shaking, or did she feel free? Maybe I'll never know. But I do know this. She didn't reject me. Not really. She rejected a future she didn't believe in, a commitment she couldn't keep. And though it wrecked me, it also saved me from building a life with someone who didn't want to stay. So now, when people ask why I flinch at phone notifications or hesitate when someone says, "forever," I just smile. Because once upon a time, I stood at the altar alone and lived to tell the story. The weirdest part wasn't waking up alone the next morning. It was realizing I didn't know what I was mourning. Was it Naomi herself? Or the life I had imagined with her? The house, the late-night grocery runs, the babies with her eyes in my laugh, the vacations we'd penciled in but never taken? Grief is strange. It makes you miss things that never even existed. That's what I wrestled with in the weeks after the wedding that wasn't. Her dress still hung in the dry cleaner's bag in my hall closet. I don't know why I kept it for as long as I did. Maybe it made the whole thing feel less like a dream, more real, more brutal. One day I came home from work and found it gone. Theo had taken it. "I figured it was time," he said. "You didn't even look at it anymore. You just walked around it like a ghost." He wasn't wrong. Why didn't she say something sooner? Why text me minutes before? Why let me walk to the altar while she walked to an Uber? The mind turns inward, vicious and hungry. I thought back to the last week we'd spend together before the wedding. She'd seemed off, a little quieter, but I chalked it up to stress. Planning a wedding was pressure, especially one this big. I kissed her on the forehead when she looked tired, rubbed her shoulders when she seemed tense. "Just a few more days," I'd said, "then it's just you and me." She smiled at that, a smile that now feels like a lie. There are small things you don't expect to hurt. Someone playing our favorite song at a restaurant, an Uber pulling up that's the same model as the one she left in. Even the damn grocery store, because for months I'd planned meals with her in mind. But pain eventually becomes background noise. You stop flinching every time you hear her name. You stop checking her social media. Even if you know you still could, you learn to unlove in steps. I wrote her once. Never mailed it. Still have it saved somewhere on a dusty USB drive. It read, "Naomi, you shattered me, but not because you didn't want to marry me. Because you didn't respect me enough to say it to my face. I don't hate you. I probably should, but I don't. You were the first person I ever really pictured forever with. And even though you destroyed that image, I still hope you find peace. Because if you were that scared, maybe it wasn't just about me. Maybe it was about you not knowing who you were yet. But you should know this. I'll be okay. Eventually. And the next time I walk to an altar, it'll be with someone who walks there with me, not someone who runs away. 2 years passed. I don't mark the anniversary. Not anymore. But I remember, like you remember an old scar. You don't feel the pain, but you remember the exact spot where it used to hurt. I met someone new in the most unexpected way. At a bookstore, arguing over which edition of The Great Gatsby had the better cover art. Her name is Lila. She laughs with her whole body. She doesn't flinch when I talk about what happened. She doesn't get jealous or insecure. She just listens and tells me. That says more about her than it ever will about you. We're not rushing anything. In fact, I still haven't told her the full wedding story. Just pieces. One night, though, she said, I don't know what she was running from, but I'm glad she did. So am I. Sometimes I still wonder if Naomi regrets it, if she ever looks back and thinks, maybe I made a mistake. But the truth is, I don't need to know anymore, because I survived the worst kind of silence, the kind that falls after a promise breaks. And now, I value the kind of love that shows up, that doesn't leave you holding a phone in a room full of flowers meant for forever. If she taught me anything, it's this. Never confuse someone's indecision with your worth. Never wait at an altar for someone whose heart is already halfway out the door. And never, ever, underestimate the power of standing up again after someone walks out on you. Because sometimes being rejected isn't the end. It's the beginning of the life you were always meant to live. The last time I saw Naomi was purely by accident. Nearly 3 years after that wedding day. I was walking through a farmer's market with Lila, hand in hand, when I saw her across the street. She looked older, sharper somehow, like life had trimmed away the softness I remembered. Her hair was shorter, dyed a darker color. She was holding a coffee in one hand, a leather sketchbook in the other. Our eyes met. She froze, just for a second. Then she gave the smallest nod, almost imperceptible. I nodded back, and then I looked away, not in anger, not in pain, just peace. I didn't follow her. I didn't need to. I wasn't the man she left standing at the altar anymore. I was someone else now. Someone stronger. Someone loved the right way. Someone who had rebuilt from the rubble she left behind. Lila squeezed my hand, unaware of the history that had just walked past. You okay? She asked gently. I smiled. Yeah, I said. More than okay. We kept walking. The sun was warm. The world was moving forward, and for the first time in a long, long time, so was I.